Fighting a life of always being alone. Fighting a life of always.
What is going on, guys? It is Adam McKay Marf, and today's show is going to be packed. We have a lot going on. We have, of course, from the West and East Coast deployed amphibious ships. And now, of course, we have Russian ships, amphibious ships, going through the English Channel, assumingly to the Black Sea to possibly take over Ukraine. We'll talk about all of that and more right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Fighting a life of always being alone. Fighting a life of always being alone. Fighting a life of always being alone.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. If you've never been here before, this is a live call-in show tonight, so you can call in at 224-400-MARF. If you have information about any of what we are talking about, make sure to call in. First-time callers are very welcome. Again, you can also get our notifications. If the platforms are not doing it right, make sure to get our own. You can go over to marfooglenews.com, not only get our notifications, but you can also get our email alerts. Now, you can also follow along. We make sure that every single picture, article, archive document, any kind of tweet, anything that we're going to show you here today is going to be listed over on our website, marfooglenews.com. We have a bibliography. That way you know exactly where your stories are coming from. Now, when you go over there, it's very easy to navigate. You'll look for this thumbnail, landing ships passing through the English Channel. Watch closely, and we mean watch closely. Right now is probably the closest we have been to an actual conflict in our lifetimes, and I'm even talking to some of the older folks in our audience. Again, when you click on this, you will see all of the pieces from all of the sources here. That way you can check my work and you can make sure that I'm not getting this from some crazy place. Most of these are approved and accepted as fact. So again, that doesn't mean they're doesn't mean they're necessarily again, a now accepted fact is a whole wide range of things, right? But again, once you hit that yellow bar right here, web-only content, that is stuff that is too hot for TV. That is the stuff that is politically charged, too far to one direction for us to cover neutral, and we do try to be as neutral as possible. We welcome both sides in our chat. We do not accept any kind of talking smack about any other creators. We also don't accept people arguing and fighting with each other, again, but we always welcome people to come back if they've had a bad day. So again, that usually anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 people in the live chat. Make sure to go check down there as well, or even watch the replay for that. Now, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James, who is also going to be on the phones tonight at 224-400-MARF. That number is going to be scrolling down on that black line. And also, we'll be adding things, breaking news stories to the show live as we do this. And the caller's info will all be there as well by the end of the show. Dex, how are you doing and what is going on?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So a lot to cover. Just one more reminder: if on the right side, if you do want to support us in any way, all of those boxes are affiliate boxes. Essentially, if we are independent, we do not have a multi-channel network, we do not have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. We have your support, and essentially, that is most of what ends up paying for this show. So thank you, everybody. If you want to use Amazon, again, if you're already shopping there, it won't cost you anything extra, and it helps out our channel. EMP Shield and My Patriot Supply, even if you don't go through us, I hope that people actually take those seriously. Those are actually recommended even a year before we ended up even being affiliates. So those are real recommendations for your safety, really. I think that eventually either one of those would save lives. All right, let's get started. Maria, thank you, says much love, Marfoogle fam, Adam, Dex, and mods. Bro, Prank Sis, thank you for subscribing just a second ago. Diane Moses, thank you. Spartan O Negative, thank you for the 444 right before the show started. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then remember, 2244000MARF, that number is right there. If you do not know what MARF means, the later scroll will actually show you what that is. I believe it is 6273. But again, make sure to go check that black line. NATO reveals plan to respond to space attacks. So one thing about the stories that they come out with, it projects what is really happening. And I hope that people understand that this is happening. And I have really gotten past the point of kind of saying, I think this is, I guess I'm less afraid than I was before, especially since I really feel blessed to have it every single day on this earth. At this point, I've had lots of issues with my own health, and I've already had multiple instances where I should have died, especially, years ago. And that woke me up temporarily. And for some reason, when you have a near death, it wakes you up temporarily, but then you forget about it. And it really, it's almost like you should almost die every couple of years to really respect life. Because I think we all forget how blessed we are to wake up every morning. We really do not take life at all for what it is. I mean, it's an amazing thing. All of you are amazing. This channel is amazing. Everything is amazing about it. So, but I'm less afraid of saying my views now than I was when I first started this. We've talked to enough military. One thing that it's like, people will accuse you of flubbing. We have enough evidence here and documents and things that will actually prove that previous events that we talked about did happen. And we have evidence right now that this is like too much. Every country in the world is preparing for a conflict. I don't know how people could deny that this is going to happen. I don't see how every country in the world could do all of this and then kind of pull that back. Now, this could have two different things, or it could have many more things than what it says. But NATO reveals a plan to respond to space attacks. That's kind of a big deal. On Monday, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization published a list of policies outlining how the alliance will act in space, including how it will respond to attacks on its members in that domain. NATO's overarching space policy outlines how the alliance will increasingly use space and share space-related information among member nations. The policy also states that the alliance will extend the principles of its collective defense agreement to the space domain. At the 2021 Brussels summit, allies agreed to that attacks to, from, or within space present a clear challenge to the security of the alliance, the impact of which could threaten national and Euro-Atlantic prosperity, security, stability, and could be harmful to a modern society as conventional attacks. They're talking about EMPs here. They're talking about fractional orbital bombardment systems. We've shown you that not only is the United States preparing for this, but other countries, ESA and all of these others. Now, whether you believe it is all manufactured or you even believe that there is a piece of glass over us, it doesn't matter. What I think is that the show will still happen. If they are telling you something big is going to happen, then it is most likely going to happen. Or at least you will feel like it happened. So this is something that is coming soon. We are talking about what is up in space is whatever is happening above us, or what is ever happening on the other side of that hill that you can't see something go up and down in an arc, it doesn't matter. It is going to happen. That is my belief. This is my opinion. And I think that we are having mounting evidence from every single country that they are preparing for something massive. So if you're new here, understand that there's a lot of previous shows that have led up to kind of me not giving a crap. At this point, I think that everybody should have their ducks lined up and have things in a row. Do you guys disagree with this? Tell me in the comments below. Am I crazy for thinking this? Am I crazy, especially for those that follow every night and see the same things that I see? I don't see how. I honestly don't see how people are still in the dark on this or under a rock. Mostly it's Hollywood. Mostly it's apps. Mostly it's distractions. I think that's one of the big things. I just want to highlight a point here, and I'll actually highlight this to make it easier to see. A number of nations are developing counter space and anti-satellite systems. The NATO policy states potential adversaries in particular are pursuing the development of a wide range of capabilities from non-kinetic, such as dazzling, blinding, and jamming of space assets, taking out our GPS, taking out our communications. These are all things that all of these countries are working on, not just China and Russia, which may not act, right? If we're still doing business with them, and if we're all good and we can pull it back, we use the red phone and dial back, then that's fine. But we're talking about countries like NK and the I countries in the middle E. Those countries have less holding them back. In fact, way less now. In fact, I think they have billions of dollars worth of gear now in a certain country that we left unexpectedly or fast, much faster than people thought. And they even have EMP weapons, which was just a tiny little print in that stuff. No, some of those are weapons that you would have to actually bring here to put off next to places. But just so you remember, only 9 locations in the U.S., if they knock down those transformers, it would knock down our entire grid, and it would take anywhere from 6 months to 18 months to fix. That's almost 2 years, and that would be 90% of us perishing because we wouldn't have drinkable, potable water. So these are all real things that you can check my math on. These are things that the government and Congress and the Senate Arms Committee are talking about, but very little does it show up on regular news. It says destructive to kinetic destructive systems such as direct ascent and anti-satellite missiles on orbit, anti-satellite systems, and laser electromagnetic capabilities. Such space destruction, disruption, degradation, and denial capabilities are further exacerbated by the susceptibility to space to hybrid approaches and the associated difficulty of attributing harmful effects of space systems. It says some threats such as signal jamming and cyber attacks can potentially be caused by also non-state actors, including key organizations, NATO added. So they're basically saying they have intel that something may be there. There's a threat there that they know about, but they're not going to tell the public. Many threats to allies' space systems originate in the cyber domain and are likely to increase. So it's only going to get worse, or at least they're telling us that, which kind of puts it the heads up in the back of our minds that this is more likely to happen. Imagine, say, something like September of 2001, but on a cyber level and 50 times bigger. If you remember T-Man, the previous president, when he was in office, closer to the end, they actually said they took out Soleimani because he was planning a 2001 on a grand scale that was something that would make that look like, I think, like something like a Cracker Jack box attack or something. Basically, it was huge. It sounds like if it's 20 times or 30 times bigger than 2001, that's a massive thing. Well, then they took out Soleimani, who was first in charge. They missed the second in charge. They did a drone strike or whatever that kind of strike that they did from the air, and they missed the second hand in command. So that guy is still alive to be able to continue whatever plan they had. Not only that, now they're even more pissed, and they're even doing CGI videos of bringing drones into his golf course and all of that. So if you saw that, that was shown on our show a couple weeks ago, and that was put out by the Supreme Leader Ayatollah, not some regular guy with a computer doing CGI. I mean, it was a guy with a computer doing CGI. It was quite bad, but it was paid for by Ayatollah, the supreme leader. So this, and then those kinetic things that they were talking about, the things that actually grab the satellites, we saw that Russia had a clamp, kind of a satellite, or maybe it was China, one of the two. One had one that would be laser oriented, I believe, and then one had a clamp that would grab the satellite and crush it. Both of those were just tested. Not only that, they took down a satellite with a missile. That was a couple months ago. And then, of course, they had the out-of-control rocket. They've had a lot of weird stuff in space happening. In the last 4 years is when this kind of picked up. It's kind of funny that at the same time, the last 4 years are meteor sightings, or at least what people think are meteors. Maybe it's not meteors. Meteor sightings have quadrupled every year. In fact, it's literally quadrupled from where it was 4 or 5 years ago. And that means sightings in groups of 10, 50, 80, 100, 200. All of those groups that they report and actually document have all gone up and quadrupled. So pretty crazy stuff. And then Space Force submitting bold budget requests. So Space Force is now asking for more money. And apparently they call it bold because it's a lot. The Space Force's upcoming budget request will be, quote, bold and advance the Pentagon's pursuit of an improved satellite architecture that would be more resilient against enemy attacks or other disruptions, the service top officer said January 18th. So one thing to think about that is if they are trying to beef it up, our enemies most likely know that too. If we can read this on an article, that means so can they. When would they hit? They would probably hit sooner than later. They would probably try not to wait until we have a resilient system. So that's just a thought. That's why most of us always try to find at least, where would the sense of urgency be to actually get something done and prepare. Defense observers are eagerly awaiting the release of President JB's fiscal year 2023 budget blueprint. Annual presidential budget submissions to Congress typically come in February, but the next one could be delayed until March, according to reports. Once that budget is released, you'll see a very bold budget as it relates to space and being able to shift a more resilient architecture. So, also, could this money be for something else? Could the money be for setting up some sort of escape plan for the elites? This is something that people actually talk about because guess what? All of the elites, and we're talking about the multi-billionaires that own all these companies they own countries too, that actually have their own rockets. All of the richest people in the world either own a rocket or own a rocket company. Even the ones that you don't hear about that don't have SpaceX and Blue Origin and all of this, they are actually buying rockets or leasing them from these companies. So it's a pretty big deal. Why are they trying to get off of Earth? They're trying to go to Mars or go to the moon and sending all these DNA samples away of every species like a Noah's Ark. Meanwhile, also doing Asgardia, the space government in the sky. That's really being done, and the proper paperwork is being filled out as if it was a real government. Rad Roger, thank you for subscribing. Teresa, thank you for the support. Lola Cafe, thank you as well. I appreciate that for the super stickers, guys. And then Neto 161 and Nick Cordovano, thank you. I appreciate you. Kimberly Banks, thank you for the massive support. Thank you for supporting independent. Dad and Bo's Toy Show, doing a great job, guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody that supports. So once the budget is released, you'll see that very bold budget. We'll see what's in it. What else could be in that thing? Obviously, a couple years ago, we found out that there were trillions of missing dollars. It was like $20 trillion that was unaccounted for. Where do you think those black budget things went to, right? How much of this budget will go towards things where they say it's something public or say it's going to be in space so we don't see it and it's actually for something else? Who knows? And then Elon Musk's Starlink satellites are hindering the detection of near-Earth asteroids, study finds. So this kind of goes against some of my thoughts that they were building Starlink. Now remember, Starlink came out and everybody thought that it was just for internet. I thought that that's because once I heard that they were making a grid around, or their eventual plan is to make a grid around the planet, I thought that this was some sort of defense platform or something to defend the Earth, or possibly even a replacement for our magnetic field or something, right? But they ended up telling us just a matter of months ago, less than a year, that there were hypersonic speed detectors in the Starlink satellites, or every once in a while they would put up one of these as part of the grid that would be able to detect hypersonic speed objects. So my thought was that these were also to detect anything coming in, that possibly they put something on there, so if something flies by really quickly we would have a couple minutes to figure something out or evacuate or whatever. Probably more or less logical the more you think about it, right? But now they're saying that Starlink is actually hindering and hurting this field of finding the near-Earth asteroids, which, who knows? Maybe they're possibly setting us up for something to hit and go, oh, it's Earthlink or Starlink's fault. Elon Musk's Starlink satellites are hindering scientists trying to detect near-Earth asteroids, according to a new study. At the moment, there are almost 1,800 Starlink satellites orbiting Earth, roughly 550 kilometers away, providing internet to 24 different countries. Musk, the world's richest man, has been sending an increasing amount of satellites into orbit since 2019 through his SpaceX company. The American aerospace manufacturer also plans to have 10,000 Starlink satellites in orbit by 2027, in just 6 years, 5 years. It's crazy to think it's 2022. I looked at my computer. I'm like, wow, that's insane. I can't believe we're here right now. Blessed be the day. Now, a study published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters has investigated concerns among astronomers that Starlink satellites are obstructing observations prompted by the frequency with which they have been leaving streaks on telescope imagery. We've talked about that as well. When you take photos of the sky, now there's white lines across, and you actually missed parts of the sky. Now, I've seen some of my amateur astronomer friends with pictures, and they had like the most beautiful aurora pictures and all sorts of cool stuff, and then had white lines through it. They did not think it was cool, to say the least. So I've personally seen it affect amateur astronomers in their pictures, and I saw it. I mean, it goes across the entire thing on a long exposure, and it completely ruins it. So a lot of people are pissed off about that, but will that also hurt trying to find supposed asteroids? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Remember, you need to call in at 224-400-MARF. And when you do call in, you have to press option 4 to get over to Dex. It looks like Dex is on the phone right now, but there is a line open. If you are a first-time caller or you have information about anything, if you have recently something strange happened recently, deployed, you have 3 sons in the Navy and they were all just taken away, make sure to let us know, at least what you can let us know that's public. Fed lays out risks and benefits of the CBDC in paper, takes no policy stance. Creating an official digital version of the U.S. dollar could speed up payments and provide households with a safe option as payments technologies evolve. But it would also present financial stability risks and privacy concerns, the Federal Reserve said in a long-awaited discussion paper released on Thursday. We're talking about turning the dollar digital, or part of it digital, and my guess is if you were getting welfare, or if you were getting food stamps, or if you were getting something like that, it would all be digital, and it would go right into your bank account, and you would, of course, use your chip, RFID chip card, or even in the future, now they're already putting chips in people's hands and things like this, not even kidding. You could use that to pay at the stalls. More and more places have the tap to pay feature, and of course, this would add it on to a virtual account, right? But that could be hacked. That also would give the government complete access to your bank. Now, there was a video that was deleted by High Impact that talked about the Banking for All Act. I don't know why they don't want you to know about that, but essentially, or why I assume they don't want you to know about that, but they found in a study that it was like 25% of 25% of everyone on Earth doesn't have a bank account at all. Like they just completely are off grid as far as banking goes. They don't have a bank account. They don't have a checking account. To some, that might sound strange, but like I worked, I sold art on, for street vendors for like 3 years. I was off of everything, right? And most of the people down where I was working on in this tourist area, everybody was under the table. So I knew a lot of people that did not have bank accounts. Now I had one bank account, but I barely used it. So I understand that. As far as this goes, think about that where, this bill tried to be passed a few months ago where they wanted to have IRS know everything you did after you had $600 in your bank. Once you made $600 in that bank, everything over that would be tracked. Everything in, everything out. Right now, that doesn't happen. If you say have $10,000 or you pull $10,000 out, they ask why, and then they tell IRS like what you're doing with it. Now they even have a new thing. It went in. It was not $600, but they did increase that, and they do want to know what's going on in your bank account, right? This would even further that. The paper made no policy recommendations and offered no clear signal on where the Fed stands on whether to launch a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. Moreover, the Fed said it would not proceed on creating one without clear support from the executive branch and from Congress, ideally in the form of specifically authorizing law. Now, all they need to do that is money, and it is a bank, so they will be able to pay off people as they go down the line. So I guess my advice is, as soon as possible, try to get into Congress or be a senator if you do want your pockets lined. I mean, if you want to hear their stance on this and just agree with them and go with it. They're going to pay for it to go through. That was the point. I hope everybody got that. I was just being specific. But it sets the stage for the central bank to collect public feedback on the potential costs and benefits of the approach, which is being increasingly explored by major economies across the globe. While CBDC, I don't even like saying this because it contains these three letters, right? Could provide a safe digital payment option for households and businesses as the payment systems continue to evolve, and may result in faster payment options between countries. There also may be downsides, Fed officials wrote in the report. Challenges include maintaining financial stability and making sure the digital dollar would complement existing means of payment. Basically, do people not realize like they're trying to reset and they're trying to go over to a different thing? I mean, it's pretty freaking clear. Pretty crazy stuff. Thank you over on D-Live. The D-Live crew is over there. Thank you so much, MD Moses, Lisa K23, Texas Rob 49. It's been a minute. 20-month sub streak. Awesome. That is insane. We've almost been on D-Live for 2 years because Texas, I know you've been there since the beginning. So that is really cool. We're on 4 months away. Lady Green Eyes, thank you. Vault11, Big Shot Ben. God bless the Foogle fam be with you, or may the Foogle be with you. MD Moses, thank you so much for the Ninja Guinea. Thank you guys for going above and beyond. Jay Rockin and Lisa K23. I appreciate that. Thank you, Texas, again for gifting that sub to Unreal Steve Martin, which that's funny. I remember that screen name because you joined us for the shout show the other night. WJS Jen, how you doing, Steve Martin? Appreciate you. And then Deep State of Mind, 1B, 1% Mo. And, of course, MRSA1. Thank you, guys. Gem, Chance, any of the mods that are there, thank you so much for joining us. And I appreciate you guys, so thank you. And not to forget Jammer, of course. All right, we're gonna head over to the calls here in a second. So it looks like the first caller needs to get onto a different phone. So if you would like to call in, make sure to call in at 224-400-MARF. Again, thank you, David Arduzer. The Foogle fam wants to support indie authors like me. Check out paperback and ebooks by David Arduzer at Amazon.com. So David Arduzer, Arduser. I will check out your book. That is really cool. That's something to be proud of. Jacob Israel, my friend, has a book on Amazon as well. He has a great book, crazy stuff. He published stuff years ago that ended up coming true, all from things that he saw kind of in a vision. Pretty crazy stuff. Dean G, thank you. Says, Adam, you are amazing, and I would have said in the U.S. Army, you're a trooper. Praying your clots are treated soon. Thank you. Yeah, I'm now on a blood thinner that hopefully will help. Patty, Adam, and Dex, I've been praying for you and your families. Thank you for keeping us enlightened to what they don't want us to know. Much love, Patty. Lisa K, Franco, David M, Trell S, Carol W over the last week have supported over on PayPal. Thank you guys. Melissa L, and of course Claire L, Krista R, and Kate T. Kate with a C. Thank you so much. Real quick, I do want to remind you right now, EMP Shield, you can get $50 off as normal, and that actually combines with any of their sales. Remember, you can actually protect yourself against an EMP. This is a legit device. This company is not only worked with DHS, DOD, but now on the DEMSO team helping the Texas grid protect themselves as well. They are doing big things right now. As we showed you a video yesterday, they were at the SHOT convention, and they actually had the bass player from Five Finger Death Punch and Horny Mike from Counting Cars on the History Channel. They shouted us out at the Foogle Fam. Apparently, they are Foogle Fam members, so you never know who is watching. But make sure to go check them out. That Andrew, again, one of the people that started this. Now the company is huge. When we started working with them, they were very small, and then they got all of these government contracts, and they ended up growing and growing and growing. There was one point where we didn't even know if they were still going to sell these to civilians. So make sure to grab them. They are amazing devices. There's many videos. In fact, I saw Bones did a great video on how to put one in your car if your car has a specialty kind of a mid-post. So lots of really cool Foogle Fam members have actually done videos. It takes less than 15 minutes. I would say it was about 10 minutes to put the one in my car. Very, very easy. So again, make sure to go check it out. marfooglenews.com/EMP. Not only do you get the $50 off plus whatever sale they're running, you also help the Foogle Fam. And you are also protecting yourself against not only EMP, but CMEs as well, including a Carrington level event. All right, Dex. So do you want to cover the next article here? Elon Musk Neuralink could soon implant its brain chip. And after you... it looks like we actually, Dex, it's fine if that person can't get their phone working. It's not the biggest deal.
Hey, Adam, I'm behind. I'm trying to work with a caller. It's having some difficulties.
Do you want to do that then? I can hold off.
Yeah. Okay.
Just if you want to get him on that, I'll do Elon Musk Neuralink, and then we can pull him on.
Okay, perfect.
All right, and then the number is 224400MARF if you do want to call in. Elon Musk Neuralink could soon implant its brain chip in humans. In fact, a bunch of people sent me screenshots on their phones. Some people got texted a direct invitation to be a part of the human trials. How they found them is, I guess they were following him on Twitter. So he found people through their Twitter account or something. He directly DM'd out invitations to be a part of this trial. That's just nuts. So if you want to be one of the first human beings with a Neuralink, which is scary as hell, I guess you can start trying now. It says Elon Musk's Neuralink could soon implant brain chips in humans. Firm wants to hire a director to oversee its first clinical trial participants. Elon Musk has demonstrated the Neuralink brain chip in a pig, a monkey, and we could soon see it perform in a human brain. I'm sorry. So in the end, when they end up putting this in humans, this could mess with things. What if they miss something, or they jab you with a Q-tip or something in the wrong spot, and your eyebrow is stuck up or something. Like, this is scary as hell. I don't think most people are realizing how fast we are evolving in this area and how fast we are evolving in AI. Between AI and this, Elon Musk actually sees this as battling AI. He believes that if we hook up the human brain to the computers and to the internet and to everything else instantly, so say you don't even have to Google something, somebody asks you what 4,452 times 56 is, your brain will be hooked up through a computer and it will just do the calculations. That could mean that every human being on Earth that has Neuralink and is hooked into this very well could, this could evolve humanity. Think about that. Think about if you were able to do something, this is like the Matrix. Think about if you wanted to learn Taekwondo and you could just access it. If they physically could connect this to muscle memory somehow, if they figured out how to do that, we have to do something 60,000 times for our muscles to remember it. But what if they hack that? What if they end up doing something like, of course, what they did in the Matrix? Now, he is the same man who ended up saying that he believes we may be in a simulation. What if we're already in pods and we're playing out the scenario that we are basically doing it again? We're reliving what happened in the first place. And around us, outside of our pods, the world has been destroyed. It's a trip. What's your thoughts on that? In fact, I'm going to take just a general 1 and 2 survey here. And it's just yes or no. So number 1, yes, do you think that we are in a simulation right now? And 2, no. I foresee a lot of 2s, but again, what is your thoughts? Doesn't matter which one. 1, we're in a simulation right now, and 2, we are not. Look at that. One, wow. Actually, a lot more 1s than I thought. The Truman Show, somebody said. I would think that it would be more 2s. We have a traditionally Christian audience, so. But I've even talked to I talked to a pastor who believed it could be both. That he had a thought of like God putting us in a simulation while he fixes things. He had a crazy theory. He was actually a pastor of a big church too. But he doesn't talk about it publicly. And then Ed Brown, thank you, says, I believe the Bible, somebody. Proud pagan, says somebody else. Again, I really love that, and we should be able to get along, everybody in here. I really appreciate that everybody can get along in here. Thanks for all your work, Marf, Dex, and Mods. The Doomsday Clock is at 100 minutes to midnight. Your thoughts, Marf and Dex, or 100 seconds, Dova Ghoul. Dex, and I've also been watching for a very long time. Thanks for all both you do. Hey, Dova Ghoul, I appreciate that. Thank you. Ed Brown, thank you. Amy Gask, thank you. And then Red Pill says, we are ready. EMP shield installed for house and home generator and sent a friend to your website today to check them out. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that, RP. And Dex and Mods for everything. Much love from the coast of North Carolina. That's really appreciated. Ariel the Wrestling Mermaid. Marf, I know you say Mike's the lucky one, but I assure you I'm the lucky one every day because I get to look at his smile and hear his laugh and love him. Ariel, you and Mike are the cutest couple ever. So, Mike, you guys are both lucky. You guys are still in the... I don't know how long you've been together, but pretty impressive. All right, and then let's see here. Looks like we have Claudio. Claudio is a first-time caller and wants to... I believe there's a shout-out here. And he says that there might be something to fill in other gaps. A prophecy club calling from California. Dex, if you want to get Claudio in, and then, of course, we'll talk about the Army is building the most powerful laser weapon ever.
Yep, and Adam, Claudio is live.
Hello?
Hi, Claudio. You are live on Marfoogle News.
Hello?
Hey, Claudio, can I ask you a quick question? Are you on speakerphone?
No.
Okay. No
I
worries.
was, but I took it off.
No, you sound much better. Okay, so Claudio, it looks like you have kind of a shout out here. I can pull up the link.
Oh, yeah. For it's a YouTube channel called The Prophecy Club.
Okay, why don't you tell us about it?
Okay, The Prophecy Club. Well, I've been new to YouTube, kind of. I've had the account for years, but I've never really used it. And the only thing I did with it is just get, like I used to just like finding music videos, rock, whatever. And then I came to that point where I was just realizing that, I was going through things with, the news media, TV and all that. I started getting tired of all that kind of stuff. But I've always kind of was open-minded to keeping an open to alternatives. And you guys kind of came into that area. I started appreciating YouTube more. I started looking into it, research, getting searches on there and all this, and all these kind of YouTube channels came up. I didn't realize it was that open. I didn't have any idea it was offering so many different media or news alternative channels. It was crazy. I was like a kid in a candy store. But then little by little, I started deleting or removing some channels because I was just liking everybody. I was just following everybody. And I remember how I started getting recommendations from YouTube, and you guys were one of those recommendations. And so was Prophecy Club. Now, I was starting to understand that, a lot of these different channels, they were talking a lot of, about different topics, and some of the things you guys have been touching on now, China, Russia, and who really are, I don't want to say enemies, but adversaries kind of thing. Well, what was interesting is that I've always followed prophets. Years ago, locally, I followed prophets. A prophet will have a meeting, so I go visit the meetings or churches or whatever. And I started discovering how sometimes the words they would give would actually come to pass. They would really happen. And so I was kind of like in that kind of process, and some of the prophets I followed is Kim Clement and others. He has a YouTube channel. His daughter is running that now. And so Prophecy Club also does some of that, but what they seem to do is they kind of follow the prophets, and they've invited prophets to their ministry and, done like YouTube channel, videos and all that, like what you guys do. But they've done videos and they've done, this. And so I was kind of like beside myself a few times because you're kind of talking about the same things that they're talking about.
No, it looks like
But I don't think
look at yesterday. They did something. I mean, they're thinking the same way. Look at this. On 3 days ago, they did a video. I right away I saw Andrew. They have Andrew from EMP Shield on there. And then
yes,
they have our tanks
Yes.
about to roll into DC. So they were talking about why they were putting up the walls. See, I don't
Okay,
think.
yes.
By the way, I don't think that we are at all. I don't think we're so unique. I think it's like if people want to do, people have a favorite sports commentator, right? So the sports
Right.
are all going to be the same, but the commentator that they like to listen to, it's like it's by choice. I think it's good to show people other channels.
Oh, yes, totally.
I was talking about this on the panel the other day, that we need to stop looking at other channels. There's 2 billion channels, like you were saying, that there's all these channels, right? There's 2 billion
it
plus
was
channels.
overwhelming.
But we should stop looking at each other like competition. We should be pushing these
Right.
people up. I guess the only time that that it would be a worry is if we all both went live at the same time. But otherwise, I would like you to watch this person's video and then come mine, or vice versa. It looks like this is some cool stuff, so I'm going to check it out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I kid you not. Sometimes some of the things that that minister or that YouTube channeler is talking about, you guys have either already talked about it or are talking about it. I mean, he's got some of the same sponsors that you guys have. So, because I was so overwhelmed, all these years, because I was following all these different channels and I was overwhelmed. So I decided to start deleting some of these channels. I removed them and because they weren't relevant to what I was thinking about or what I guess I came down to that place where, because of you and because of other channels that, I look at the preparedness thing a little more seriously. I try to be a little more informed. I try to be open where I wasn't. I try to understand that there's something going on and it's bigger than I am. And I started realizing that at least if I'm able to be informed that when whatever happens, when it hits, at least I understand that, hey, there was channels that were trying to help. I can do the best I can. And, how you guys and other channels are helping the people. I mean, how many people do we have in the United States? What, over 350 million now? Can you imagine the lives you guys have saved? Because right now, the storms and ice storms and I don't know what, hurricanes or whatever, but people took you guys seriously and started listening to this and started saying, well, you know what? I better get prepared. I better do something. And they found these channels and they did get prepared. They got something, at least a flashlight. Maybe they got a week's extra groceries, and so because they've listened to these channels, they've listened to YouTubers where, I mean, they're just trying to help. You guys are trying to help the people. You're trying to help 350 million of us, and it's sad that not everybody's going to be able to listen to these or watch these videos. But the thing is, at least the word is kind of getting out. I mean, we talk about it with our families. Some of them reject it. Some of them receive it. We talk about it with our neighbors. Some of them reject it. They think it's a joke, but some of it will okay, well, maybe I better get extra groceries or maybe there's something here. Because the people that are sharing like me, when I share things with neighbors or whatever, they know what I'm about. So they're going to kind of listen to that and maybe it'll be in the back of their mind. But it all came from you guys. It all came from these channels.
Well, just so you know, when you are talking to your neighbor or friend, and even if they think that you're crazy, I think that even our trolls, a lot of the people that you're saying, they end up having that in the back of their mind, and they end up doing something, or they end up changing their mind later down the road.
Right. And so that's because that person could help somebody, turn them on to these channels, and let them make up their own mind. And I wasn't a troll. I wasn't critical. I was just not taking it seriously when I was kind of getting into this. And when I started really getting into YouTube and, following all these things, all these different things, which is really great stuff, I mean, I'm not going to, but then I started really listening, and then I started hearing what, like you guys, what you guys talk about and how you back everything up and you see it in the news. And I'm like, well, wow, I'm seeing it in the news a little bit. I'm seeing it over here a little bit. This other YouTuber is talking about this. And it's like, the good thing about all that is it confirms, you guys are confirming each other. And I don't even think some of YouTubers understand that you guys are kind of talking about the same thing, because there's so many YouTubers, but the thing is there's been a lot of truth. There's been a lot of truth out there with you guys, the YouTubers. And that's helping the people, the masses. I mean, 350 million.
Wow. 8 billion. I mean, there's over 4 billion or 3 billion accounts. So people like you that have accounts, there's 3 billion of them. So we can potentially, we have viewers in Australia, in Europe, in New Zealand, and all over the place.
Well, I can appreciate that. I understand that part, but I don't mean to be selfish or anything. But my concern, and the only thing I care about, is America, the United States. I don't mean to be disrespectful to Australia and all that, but there isn't really too much I can do for those guys. And if we don't start, waking up, and thank God for guys in YouTubes like you guys and others that are trying to do that, wake up Americans, because I think when things hit the fan, things are going to really hit hard here. I think we're going to go through, because I've always leaned more towards the prophetic. And I've seen too many times where a prophet or a minister that gets a word from the higher power, I don't care who you call them, and it comes to pass, it happens, and I see that, I've seen it, I take that more seriously. And some of the things you guys are talking about, ministers are talking about, that God is telling them in their dreams, that God Almighty is, in a vision or whatever. And so, because I've seen it in my own personal life, I've seen this because I visit. That's one thing. My social activities, visit churches. I like that. It's a sober, clean place to go. Because I had issues in my past with my, And so the thing is that I discover these things, and I see these things being said by ministers. But the thing is, you guys are talking about some of these things. And I don't hear no pastors, ministers, or anything like that saying, oh, well, I got to work. You guys are just sharing everything that's out there, whatever you guys are finding. And I'm over here like, whoa.
Yeah,
I'm
Claudio.
hearing this from ministers. I'm hearing this,
Claudio, we're out of time, but I really
Okay.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I also I this is the thing about the algorithm. It may have recommended me at one point. It used to, but again, it's like I've never heard of Prophecy Club. And we have been in we should have people that are watching both. I'm sure we have a ton of audience members. I just found another channel the other day. I think it was City Prepping. I did not know about their almost 1 million subscribers. I don't get how that happens.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for your channel. I really enjoy it. It's informative. And I think really, to be honest, I think it's life-changing. And I think even life-saving, really.
Well,
so thank you.
I honestly, I
you.
think that there's a lot of people out there that are going to save lives. Claudio, thank you so much for your call. You have a great day. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. That was Claudio from California. Prophecy Club, make sure to go say Marf sent you, or we heard about you from the Marfoogle show. That way, might be their first introduction to us. Then they know that we are there in good spirit and that we are friends. So I talked about this on the panel in detail. Like I said it specifically because I feel like there's a lot of YouTubers. You guys don't see the behind the scenes. We're normal people, and then we talk to other YouTubers that are normal people. And behind the scenes, there are YouTubers that don't get along with each other because, say, one, for their channel, they'll use, say, a source. And then the other channel will not use that source because they don't believe it's correct. And that is something as simple as that. They won't like each other, and they'll just hate each other. They won't work with each other. They won't show up. I think a lot of that is healing. There's a lot of channels now over the last year that have kind of made up that I've seen, and I really do love that. Like I feel like we're moving forward. I have never had a real problem. I don't talk behind people's backs. I talk to their face, or I let it known that I'm like, hey, you're kind of a jack, you're an asshole. So I'll say that to their face rather than say it behind their back. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, especially when it's somebody online. It's like, you just say it. I don't have that many people that I dislike. I can get along with most everybody. But what I've seen, specifically in this niche, nobody talks about, nobody collabs. Nobody does these things. We are so much more powerful than the algorithm. We are more powerful than those recommendations when each one of us has like a big solid following. Don't know if you guys know this, but this show and you and everybody that shows up by the next day, when we have anywhere from 40 to 50,000 people watch this show every single day, that's better ratings than most daytime television. And we're just a tiny YouTube show ran out of a basement. Dice talks about it all the time. Mark, he talks about how he did better book sales than what's his face from CNN and all this out of his basement on his laptop. It's true. People are going towards this. Nobody watches those anymore. The rankings or the ratings are in the trash for some of those shows. They're so bad that people are actually questioning in Forbes and others, like, how are they even staying afloat? The advertising money isn't there for TV and for specifically this legacy media. Well, they're getting paid by government interests and everything else to fill that in, or at least that's my theory, right? But for us, all of us have this kind of following. If you have anywhere from, even if you're survival living and he has the same views, the 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 people every single show that are watching, that's huge. And if we all chain this together, like Prophecy Club and all this, even if Prophecy Club, here's the thing, then the audience members, they all either hate or love. There's people that troll or love, and it's like you have a mixture. So say everybody here likes me, but then you mention a channel and it's like 1/3 says, I hate that channel, they're full of this, don't go there. I hate seeing that. I don't want to see it in my chat. At least give everybody a chance, be open-minded. Wait until they actually screw you over. If they screw you over and they don't apologize or fix it, then that's something. But we're all human. So like if we guide you the wrong way or we report something wrong, we try to fix it. We'll report it on the next one and we'll say, hey, we made a mistake. We said something bad. We do that. Not everybody does, but people are human. So you got to give them a chance. Anyways, our mods know this. We always give people multiple chances. Some of the biggest trolls, and I wasn't calling that caller a troll. Some of the biggest trolls that literally said names, talked about how I looked and you're ugly and one person sent me death threats. They are now a regular part of the show. They watch every show, and that's because I talked to him. After we booted him, I called him personally and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" Talked to him for 25 minutes and figured out why he was angry. He wasn't angry at me. He was going through just crap at home. Turned out that he just wanted somebody to talk to. And now he's been here forever, and I actually consider him a friend now. So I thank everybody that's here. I really do appreciate all of you. Dex was a viewer before he worked for the show. Hopefully we can expand this and make it even bigger. And I hope that includes other channels. We have our own thing where we don't need any of these companies or what a multi-channel network is? It's not multiple channels getting together. It's a company that takes a percentage of all of these channels. Most of the channels you watch have a multi-channel network. We don't. It's not necessarily a bad thing to have one. All they're doing is getting them their advertisers, like they'll get them EMP Shield or whoever, just an example, and they'll take 10% of everything they make. And I think they take their the ad revenue. But we don't know much about that, do we? Because we talk about this stuff. So, again, make sure to tell me about these new channels. I love to find these new channels. I'll check them out at least once. And if I don't like them, I'm still gonna appreciate that they're creating and they're doing something. The Army is building the world's most powerful laser weapon ever. I've told you this 3 years ago. The only reason I got a heads up on it because my sister's boyfriend at the time was at Boeing. He is now official part of Space Force. He was military working at Boeing. He was, I don't think you'd call him a weekend warrior, but I think he was like working with the military in Boeing or something. But he then got, I guess, drafted into Space Force, and then now he can't talk about much of anything. But then they stopped dating and they still talk every once in a while. I found out a lot of stuff. I found out stuff it tripped me out about UFOs, all sorts of things. But as far as these lasers, this is what he specifically was working on. And I bet you he's one of the people working on this thing. He said that lasers will be the future of warfare, that soon they will actually get rid of millimeter anything. You will not see a cannon on if we survive that long. Any Navy ship will not have weapons like that unless it is something for some sort of artillery. And they even have something for that as well. It would be some sort of projectable that would then laser down, and an explosive laser. Like, all sorts of things are happening with lasers right now. It says the U.S. Army wants to develop a new laser weapon that is more powerful than existing weapons by nearly 3 orders of magnitude, but lasts just a fraction as long. It says the service posted a notice for the prospective new weapon at the Pentagon's Small Business Investment Research website. Dex, did you realize that this is the same thing where they wanted the mass fatality tracking system? That was that same thing.
Right, it was.
Did you catch
for
that?
All sorts of small business investments around these different topics, and that was one of them.
Wow, this actually came. So this is why. So they're looking for a new mass fatality tracking system. They're also looking for rapidly deployable checkpoints, and they're going to small businesses, these small innovators, to get that. So this is the same exact one. This is what we were talking about. People didn't understand why. It was like, well, what do you mean small businesses? There are tons of these small companies that invent, innovate, make 3D printed stuff. All of those companies you see ads for that make, crazy belt gadgets or gadgets for your phone and all that. Those are the small businesses they're reaching out to, and they're saying, hey, can you make this? And they did. This thing is absolutely nuts. We're talking about the strongest laser on the planet. It says most military lasers are continuous wavelength lasers, or those that blast a target with a continuous beam of energy. Continuous wave lasers need that blast because they effectively work like blowtorches, heating the surface of a target, say a flying drone, until the part melts off, inducing an aerodynamic failure and a crash, or the fuel or explosive payload explodes. The problem, sometimes continuous wave lasers, often in the kilowatt class, need to focus on a single point on a target for a few seconds to work properly. Ultra short pulse lasers, however, would trade duration for power, firing a 1 terawatt. A terawatt. I believe that can power a city. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's like a huge amount of power all in 1 second. A 200 femtosecond, I've never even heard of that, long burst of laser energy. For context, 1 terawatt is 1 trillion watts. Well, 1 femtosecond is the equivalent of 1 quadrillionth of a second. This content, blah, blah, blah. Basically, this thing is just, is insane. It says, unlike continuous wave lasers, which will simply burn, the Army says USPL systems can neutralize threats with 3 distinct mechanisms. I think that it loaded weird, so it says ablation of material from the target, the blinding sensors through a broadband supercontinuum generation in the air, and the generation of a localized electronic interference used to overload a threat's internal electronics. So it could physically hurt it. It could heat it up, or I believe a supercontinuum. This sounds like something out of the Back to the Future, or it could actually be a shortwave EMP blast, knock out and overload everything that's on it. So think about a tank coming at you. They hit it with this thing, and all the power stops working inside. I don't think a tank would be affected, but because I think most of that's mechanical now, but who knows? Tico and Taco, thank you for your support. Ed Brown, I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody that has popped in tonight from D-Live. The D-Live crew is active tonight. Ben Shot, Ben, Kim Hassan, thank you for all you and the team do. Thank you, and thanks for mentioning the team. Kelly2334, thank you. The Naughty Gypsy, Greifel, Deep State of Mind, and, of course, Jay Rockin. Again, thank you. A specific thank you to Jay Rockin. Says, I can't always catch the live shows, but I always watch in the morning. You are the people that I'm talking about, the replay watchers that bring that number from the 10,000 people that watch the show live to the 30,000 that watch it the next day. We appreciate you and we thank you. All right, and then let's see. I'm going to be following this website because there's a lot of weird stuff that has popped out of this small business investment thing. Sorry, excuse me.
Hey, the speed of that femtosecond is like 6,000 times faster than a picosecond, and an EMP protection needs to be 600 picoseconds. So just give you that in perspective of how much faster that laser light is.
So
technically, an EMP blast comes in as slower than like just under a nanosecond, and so that's why you need to have for EMP protection. You got to be able to do it. And I think the EMP shield is like 600 picoseconds, which is like a fraction of a nanosecond, right? It's super fast.
So what would be
this thing is like 1,000 times faster.
So technically, that laser could beat an EMP shield.
Yeah, but I think it's different in the sense that you're not dealing with induction. Well, maybe you probably are, but I think that laser is fast. I mean, it is. You're talking the speed of light, right? It's a laser beam. But yeah, that's crazy fast. If they can actually get it to be that powerful, that's going to be a massive weapon.
So basically, what you're saying is, yeah, that the EMP shield isn't impenetrable as long as you have a couple $1 billion laying around and the world's strongest laser. You could technically, possibly defeat it.
Might defeat it. I don't know how you can get that laser to curve though.
Oh, you're right.
You can with other munitions, right?
You're right.
You can lob something over the mountain, right? You can go around.
Well, no, that's what I'm talking about. The
lasers go straight,
but they have a reflection. I heard also that they were doing like mirrors in the sky. I'm not even kidding you, like a plane with a mirror on the bottom, and then they can use that as an arc point. So if it's on the other side of the mountain, they would send a plane out. This sounds crazy, but it would be an actual. Yeah, don't miss.
I mean, you're the pilot in that plane, and you're trusting the guy down below not to miss the big mirror on the butt of your plane. You're just like, no, please don't miss.
I think the whole thing is made out. The whole thing is a big old mirror. But the laser that works with that system is not one that would burn right through the plane. It's one that would knock out. It would. Yeah, I don't know. That would be scary.
And you hit some turbulence, you might like take out the wrong target too.
Yeah, take out the back of the plane. Okay, so this is okay. Now we're getting into the serious stuff. I just want to make a declaration right here. This isn't to scare people. For the new people that are here that may hear this and go fear mongering. Most of us here that are watching this, we have been following this the whole time, so we are not at all afraid. We are basically, this is no surprise. I think a lot of fear comes out of the element of surprise. Everybody in this audience has been following this from day one. We have been expecting this to happen, so there's no fear. None of us are afraid of what is about to happen or may happen, right? It's pretty clear something is about to go down. How big that is, we still don't know how big this is. But it's pretty clear. We showed you the other day. The webcams from the West Coast and the East Coast have shown that all of our amphibious ships just departed. All these webcams showed more action in 2 days on the 18th and the 19th, just 2 days ago and yesterday, than we've had for a long time. We've given you the access on last night's show, I believe, so you can go back and see all of the public action. And we're talking about this isn't information that our adversary doesn't know. In fact, they're publicly available in the ports where we keep our ships. There's webcams, and they update as every ship leaves or comes in, including submarines. So it will show you a screenshot of when it leaves. We had West Coast, East Coast, all deployed on the 18th and 19th. Most of it on the 18th. These were mostly amphibious transport ships or landing ships or these flotillas. Now we have a flotilla of Russian amphibious warships that has just entered the English Channel. It says evidence mounts that the 6 landing ships are ultimately headed towards the Black Sea in possible action against Ukraine. These are massive military war machines. It says a group of Russian amphibious warfare vessels, 3 of which left the Baltic Sea region yesterday, preceded by another 3 the day before, have started to enter the English Channel. Some expect that their journey will eventually take them to the Black Sea to participate in an invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces. It says multiple reports confirm that all 6 of the Russian Navy warships have begun their passage through the English Channel, after which they will enter the Atlantic Ocean. The vessels comprise the Project 775 Rapucha-class amphibious warfare ships, Ogolangerske, Gerniak, Gorshe Bovnosets, as well as the Project 11711 Ivan Gren-class landing ship Pyotr Morganov from the Northern Fleet, plus 3 of the Rapuchas, the Korolev, and the Minsk, and the Kaliningrad from the Baltic Fleet. The Netherlands-based Marine Schepen website reported today that the Royal Netherlands Navy Hydrographic Survey vessel, the Zeer Mrs. Looms, and its embarked NH-90 helicopter escorted 3 of the Russian vessels through international waters in the North Sea. While they're en route to the Channel, supervision, quote, was then taken over by Belgian and British naval vessels. So they're watching and seeing where these things are going. They've got smaller open boats, obviously Belgian and the British naval vessels kind of tagging along, watching what they're doing here. All totally legit in... and then at least one French Navy warship is also understood to have been dispatched to monitor the progress of the Russian ships. Dex, did you... Okay, I don't know if anybody noticed this. I believe this is a Russian ship. Did anybody see what they painted on the front of their ship? Dex, did you see this? It's a freaking dragon.
Yeah, it's a red dragon. I don't know if that's really a Russian ship, though. Sometimes these articles use...
stock images?
Stock images.
But I would love to know.
It's a red dragon. I'm going to have to look that up.
We need to find out if this is Russian or China. Chinan. Wait, hold on. What's that red? Wait a second. No, there's a flag right there. What is white with the red lines?
It's the Royal Navy. That's the HMS Dragon. It's the Royal Navy.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a stock image.
I'm actually surprised the Royal Navy has this high tech of a ship now too, though. That is a really fancy ship. All these ships are starting to look a lot like this rather than the old school vessels. So I thought we caught something there. We didn't. Look at this thing though. The Rapucha class landing ship. This is a landing ship. Okay? Do you see why people are concerned? Look at what this has. Okay. It's called a landing ship. Look at the opening of this. They can then drop out and invade. This is an invasion ship. This is a ground invasion Navy ship. That is the Rapucha, and that's incredible. And then these smaller vessels take them to land. Go ahead.
And just so you know, that British ship that you showed earlier with the Red Dragon, it's the one that's now tailing them, or following them to see what they're doing, basically guarding against them.
This is another Ivan Gren class landing ship. So they got a bunch of these huge ships, and they're all heading on their way through the English Channel. This is no joke. By the way, 4 minutes ago, Russia withdraws request for carrier battle group. Withdraws request for carrier battle group to refuel in Spain amid NATO. Dex, maybe we need to get that. Maybe see if it's worthwhile. All right, and then we have more craziness. With all this going on, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that we are going to recommend, if you would like to support our show, there's a great way of doing it. You can actually not only support us, but end up protecting and actually preparing yourself. If you go to marfooglenews.com/prep, this is powered by My Patriot Supply. You can actually get short and long-term survival food. You can get, of course, 14-day supplies. You can get a month supply. You can get a 3-month supply. And again, Dex, can you actually quote the current discounts with marfooglenews.com/prep? Because
absolutely, Adam. So they've got a special going on right now that is $150 off for a 4-week supply, or no, for a 3-month supply. I said that incorrectly, and another $50 off for a 4-week supply. So they basically brought back the big discounts that they had earlier. And this is a big deal because a lot of these food companies can't keep up, and they can't keep their products, and they're having to raise their prices. And, My Patriot Supply has done a fantastic job of staying ahead of that curve and not crushing those, hitting us with heavy prices. So these discounts are great. So take advantage of them while they're here.
The worst thing that they did was they subtracted the discounts, and those are now back. So it's a good time. They might take them away in the future, away again, hopefully. And then again, hopefully they will bring them back again. But at that point, the one realization is that by then may be too late. Or in a year from now, if they do it again, it's like this is the kind of stuff you should have yesterday. Especially some of the things are for any disaster. We're talking about if your power goes off for a week. If you're in California, you definitely have some things that could happen without a major disaster that could, we're talking about rolling blackouts, winter storms. Pretty much every part of the country has had something horrible happen, including my own. I was out of power. Now we have a generator, which we'll end up talking about that in a whole show by itself. I mean, you need a generator. Okay. marfooglenews.com/prep. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Adam, sorry, just a heads up, the comment you made about the article it was referring to at the bottom, that's an old article from 2016, so about them withdrawing the request to refuel in Spain. So that's not relevant to today's time.
Why? And that was from 20 what?
I think it was from 2016. It's on RT. Russia withdraws a request for carrier battle group to refuel in Spain amid NATO pressure on Madrid.
Weird.
I think it's a 4-minute read. I don't know why it showed up down there as another. I think it's more of those are like those ads they pop in to show you other articles. But yeah,
but
it's from 2016.
Okay, but you guys will understand why this is so weird. This is a 2016 article. Look at what this is the next article, and this is from today. Spain sends warships to ward off Russian aggression. So if you've been adding up what is going on right now, almost every navy in the world is out in the ocean right now. Everything is deploying and everything is happening right now. That doesn't mean that WW3 is going to start. But again, the invasion of Ukraine very well may be. Intel, as far back as 2 months ago, said that January, February would be the time it's going to happen. We are now on the 20th of January. The weather has now cleared up. Reports and Intel says that it would be a preferred time to do it right now. So any minute right now, we could be seeing Ukraine being invaded. At the same time, we were watching Taiwan. Nobody's talking about that. They're saying, hey, look over here. Over here is also doing stuff as well. They're placing mines. Usually you don't place these mines that can explode an entire ship unless it's right before it actually happens. So they have now placed mines outside of Taiwan. That's a dangerous thing to do when you have a bunch of ships going in and out. They usually do it right before an invasion. With how close they have worked and with how close they have been drilling, if you saw some of the video from the drills, they were drilling side by side. They would do this together. The reason why is it would split up the big bad guys, right? It would be us, UK, and our forces, the Allied forces, would then be split up to try to do all of this in two different places. It makes more logical sense for China to take Taiwan and Russia to take Ukraine at the same time. And if that does happen, at least a few countries that are our allies are going to get involved. Japan is really pissed off at China, and they say they will fight tooth and nail, and they're even changing their laws so they can be a first strike country or a defensive country in respect to responding to other countries being attacked. They're changing their constitution essentially since the end of WW2 so they can possibly go to war. I guess you would have to put 2 and 2 together and go, that equals 8. To not see this. Spain is sending warships to bolster NATO naval forces in the Mediterranean and the Black Sea, and is mulling sending fighter jets to Bulgaria in a bid to deter Russian aggression, Reuters reported. It says a minesweeper is already on the way, and a frigate will be sent within 3 or 4 days, Spanish Defense Minister Margarita Robles told reporters on Thursday. A Spanish vessel set sail amid fierce tensions over Russia's 100,000 troop beard up. That's where you look up, right? With Ukraine, and warnings from the West and Moscow may soon invade the former Soviet Union. Russia cannot tell any country what to do, so NATO will protect and defend the sovereignty of any country that can or wants to join NATO. So they're saying it doesn't matter that they're not in it yet. They still want to be, and we're going to go and protect them. For love of country, whoa! Thank you for your massive support. Did a $99 super chat. Thank you. That is not necessary, but it is very much appreciated. Love what you and Dex and the mods do. Thank you. We'll keep praying for you and your precious family. For love of country 1, put a for love, number 4 in love in the chat for love of country. Thank you for supporting us. I appreciate you. We all appreciate you. Thank you so much. And then we have Navy sends a message by publicizing guided missile submarines Mediterranean presence. Pretty crazy stuff. Before we go into this, we're going to get Sue on the phone. Let's see here. Marfoogle News. Third call. Okay. It says Marf asked her to call back with pictures. So I asked her to call back with the pictures of the trees. If you remember this caller, she essentially had the 5th generation of stuff and a tree that was dying next to it. So apparently she's calling us with an update. Dex, let's get...
Adam, Sue is live.
Perfect. So Sue, I've got a link here. So what are we looking at?
Good evening, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm good, Sue. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I had called last week in regards to, I was sitting here and I felt like I had been hit with something, and I had a tremendous headache. I don't know if you remember that call.
I do very clearly. So
Okay, and I believe at this point you're looking at the tree.
Oh, wow. Okay, so is this close to your house? Where are you taking this picture from?
Yes, sir. That sits right outside my door.
Oh.
Well, Adam, it gets a little crazier. It gets even more crazier. Wait until the next picture. So the next day, within a 24-hour period of time, I found that my forehead was sore, and I went, just typical wash your face. And there was a sore spot, and I don't see that picture's up yet.
It is now.
But you will find that it almost looked like a blister, and the skin actually came off.
Wow. Now, just to update people that didn't see the show previously where you called, she was feeling just this crazy pain, like she was just getting attacked. And I actually asked, I said, do you have a certain thing around your house? And I'll show you that now. And she said, yeah, actually, right across the street. And then I talked about the dying trees and things like this, a story that I saw where a hospital put it up and it was a temporary fix where it was 10 feet off the ground, really close, and half of the tree was like dead down the middle. And I asked her if she had any trees that had kind of the same thing going on. And apparently she did. She goes, yes, yes, yes. And then I said, well, maybe you could take pictures of it and call back in. So these are those pictures. Pretty crazy, if you ask me.
And it was painful. I mean, it hurt. And that spot, the skin actually came right off. And it was raw. And it was rather wide open. Now, I actually sit behind that tree, like, right there.
It's almost, and there's a window right there, by the way. It's like the window, it's like the space of the window, and that tower is up high, so it's almost like this downward angle, like if they were looking at the JFK thing, like the angle of if you get what I'm saying.
I can't make that up. Look at that. And I sit. Now you got to remember that tree is really, really tall. That's a story and a half. So that's about 15 feet tall, you figure. And then of course it's on an angle. Well, of course I'm sitting on my floor. So I'm going to be another, 4 feet down. And I'm sitting right here with this is the way I face that side. So there it is. I mean, I don't have any other explanation, and that is, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, there's a spot that was raw. The skin came off.
Now, can I ask you a quick question? If you looked out the window, if you looked out the window right there, is that tree is the tree in between that window and that tower?
Yes, it is.
That's a trip. I just wonder if since you are a human body, a biological human body or something, or you have a cell phone, that it's drawing it in or something. I don't know. That's a trip. That
corner is, if you were to take the, how they talk about, now this can get kind of crazy, but when you start drawing lines, invisible lines, it's basically a straight shot. I mean, it is, as far as I'm concerned. I can look out that window, which is where I sit, and bird's eye view is the tower. Yup, bingo.
What a trip.
That's my bird's eye view.
Sue, thank you for sending this. I think that I think some people are going to pick this up and go, oh. I saw this personally with the tree that was at the hospital, and I guess it'd be as close as the top of that. It was the top of the walkway, and the whole side of the tree, it was like somebody cut a piece of the tree out and made it brown.
Like mine?
The bark, yeah, but no, it was even worse. The bark fell off on one side. You could see the innard of the tree.
Oh, wow.
The bark had fallen off, and then it was a perfectly beautiful green tree, and this one chunk was just brown, and it was a circle. It was so obvious. I took pictures of it and I posted them, and people were like, holy, well, guess what? Other people complained. I even asked, I asked a nurse that was parked. It was all doctor reserved parking there. It was at Valley Medical Center. And I said, hey, where's that thing? And they said, a bunch of us complained and got it removed. And the tree was healing. The tree started healing again.
Yeah, I would have never put the spot together, but it was so violent. So I don't know if something was click, click turned on.
Was it during a storm?
Because it was so quick and violent.
Was there a storm?
No.
I was just wondering if they got overloaded with power.
We've been very, very quiet up here. No, that's what I'm saying. That, and it wasn't but a couple days later that one thing got turned on. But I'm just saying, I just don't know. I don't know what else. Now that tower, by the way, the water tower, that is 3 blocks from me. So
Wow.
that doesn't sit right in my backyard. But still, I mean, you know.
No, I see what you're saying.
And that sits up on an angle, so it's I can truly look right out my window, and that's what I see. That is, I can see that.
Well, Sue, everybody is telling you saying that you should move. I would actually suggest not sitting at that window if, and I'm not saying that this is what is actually happening. I just want to clarify. It is my
right.
It is
Neither
my
am I.
theory.
I have
my
absolutely
belief.
no proof that this is what's going on,
Yes.
other than what happened to me.
My opinion is I don't like this stuff, and I especially think there are things you can do out of like stuff you can get at Home Depot that maybe, maybe sit at a different window, but also quite possibly move stuff. I don't know if you own the house, but maybe
I do.
Maybe if you own it, I don't know how big of a deal it would be to put some graded wire along that window or something, or whatever is facing that tower. I mean, it could be good for your health. I don't know. I don't know how.
I'm really not thinking so.
Yeah. Well, Sue, thank you for calling in, and thank you for the update. And
Thank you.
I was
Thank
pretty
you.
sure about it. That's why I asked you. I said, "Hey, do you have a tower nearby?" And boom, there it is. And then I said, "Do you
There
have
it
trees that have damage?" And then boom, there it is. So only knew because of my experience with it, and I saw it, and I've seen it multiple times. So thank you so much, Sue. I appreciate you, and thank you for calling.
All right. I'll catch you tonight on your jams.
All right, thank you so much. That was Sue. That again, if you want to look at these pictures for yourself, she has, of course, sent them to us, which means we have uploaded them to our website for tonight's show. When you go to our website, you'll see underneath all of the news and our bibliography of all of our sources, you'll see caller info. That includes the Prophecy Club link that the first caller suggested, or if callers have a YouTube channel, we always end up linking that there as well. So basically everything in this show is contained over on marfooglenews.com. All right, and then getting back to Navy sends a message by publicizing a guided missile submarines Mediterranean presence. So they're publicly saying like, hey, we've got this here. Dex, do you want to talk about why they did this?
Well, yeah. I mean, as a deterrent to, what's going on in the Ukraine, this is definitely like a real big signal. It's like, we're here and know that this is here, and probably more of us are here. We're not going to show you everything, but we're popping up just to make sure that our presence is known, right? It's really a threat to say, we're here. And this is one of the, the bad boys that can carry a lot of stuff that can do a lot of damage. So, yeah, it's definitely a sign. They wouldn't just pop this thing up unless they wanted it to be seen, right?
Yeah, they're basically they're kind of a flashing light, like, hey, we're here. It says the choice to disclose the USS Georgia's whereabouts was likely a deterrent reminder aimed at Russia. U.S. Navy Sixth Fleet has offered an unusual public disclosure of the location of USS Georgia. I mean, that's kind of freaky. One of 4 of the service's converted Ohio's class nuclear-powered guided missile submarines. So it's
there's just a lot. Like you go back over the articles we covered today and yesterday, and that's just a lot of Navy movement, right? There's a lot of on both sides, on our side specifically, on our ally side, and the actions they're taking, whether it's the UK or Spain, as we see now, just talking about putting some ships out into the Mediterranean, specifically to go after them. And they're talking about putting, other forces in other locations, right, to help show a sign of strength. So it's obvious. I mean, unless you've got your head in the sand, it's obvious that these two sides, Russia and NATO, are gearing up. Like they're really 100% gearing up, ready on the brink And I guess it's just a matter of when, or if someone, blinks and goes home, right? And that someone would have to be Putin.
You want to talk about the U.S. sanctions and this last piece here on the Russia situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So the U.S. has released a list of current and former Ukrainian officials alleged to be working with Russian intelligence. So, whenever these types of conflicts go down, there's always a lot of precursor to it, whether it is espionage, whether it is, working with friendlies, if you want to call them, to whichever side you're on that are in the government, or even implanting over the years people. So what they've done is they've gone through and they're releasing a list of people that actually work within the government that, according to the U.S., are on the side of Russia, so that this can be made known. And as things get heated up, people can know either not to rely on them, or to remove them, or to treat them as potential, adversaries, right? So this is a kind of a very sticky situation when you think about, how these things happen. I mean, look at what we did during World War II, right? With the camps we created. I mean, you can, you could take it at a high level and just not talk about the few people that you can't trust in the government, or you can go even further and start, getting it all the way to a granular level of groups of people that you want to, that may be friendly to the other side. And keep in mind, Ukraine and Russia, it was all under Soviet control. So those people came and went. They, there were a lot of people in the Ukraine, or go back and forth with Russia. So it's not necessarily, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure if you're a Ukrainian, you're probably like saying, Dex, shut up. No, we're Ukrainians. We don't like Russia. But it's sort of like the same as saying, going down to Texas and thinking that there's only Americans there. Well, there's a lot of people that are from Mexico there, a lot of people from South America, in those border states. So, you do have that overlap. So it's kind of interesting as this progresses, and if this does progress, how they pull out and deal with potential adversaries or friendlies to the adversary. In this case, if you're Ukraine and the U.S., who's against you, who's working with Russia inside the border, so to speak.
Well, think about if all of a sudden something went down and then Texas was its own country. All of a sudden, it was part of the USA, but now it is its own country. It's separate. Those would still be, pretty much Americans, right? As far as, and then if we were planning on taking Texas back, we would most likely have people that are just general America supporters inside of Texas. Who knows? Maybe
right,
not.
And you're gonna have families that are, you're gonna have family members that live in Texas with family members that don't live in Texas,
exactly.
Right? So just like the same thing in Ukraine, you've got families spread out across multiple countries that were in the Soviet bloc, or even just between Russia and the Ukraine. So yeah, it is. And by the way, this has been going on even in Crimea and the other areas where there's been this constant tension in the Ukraine, is because there are Russian supporters there that have been fighting back against Ukraine. And there's always been this little bit of a conflict in those areas. It's not as big as a major conflict, but it has been a significant conflict in those, at a micro level, in those areas with Russian supporting citizens that are in the Ukraine.
One thing that's pretty clear with why Taiwan doesn't want to join China, that's obvious. But we don't look at Russia as bad as, say, China, right? We don't see Russia doing as much. They're not as crazy of a surveillance state, this and that. I wonder, I would love to hear from Ukrainians themselves. Why wasn't this something where they're like, oh, well, we've come forward all these years. We're not the USSR anymore. And, I guess what is their reasoning? If somebody asked, what would they say? Why the Ukrainian leaders wouldn't just absorb and say, now we're part of Russia again and unify? Is it because Ukrainians are more free than the Russians are when you live in Russia? What is the difference? I've never been to either country, so I'd love to know the actual difference. Or if you're an expert on both, if you went to college and actually did a master's degree on it, I'd love to hear from you. Put it in the comments down below. Why would Ukrainians not want to be? Obviously, other than the separation that's already happened, they already have their own government set up. But, you know, instead of going to conflict and fighting tooth and nail and people dying, in their mind, I would love to see their perspective of why they would fight and die rather than become back part of Russia. How bad is it in Russia to live there? I would love to know how bad that is. And if you're Russian, how bad is it to be Russian? How not? You know, we always hear about China. I would not want to be in China. I'm sorry, I would not want to live in China, ever. Maybe visit, but not. I don't even want to visit anymore, really.
You know, and I would, you know, I know you said aside from their independence, I think that's probably the biggest part, because it was 1991 when they declared their independence, and it's sort of like I'll go back and say, okay, well, why would us Americans not just rejoin the UK if the UK threatened to invade? Or why would we stand up? Well, you know, because we're free, we're independent. We fought that right, or we won that right to be that way, right? So, you know, I know you're saying are there other things, and I get that, but there's something about being a free country that or getting your sort of independence away from someone else that sort of makes it hard to want to ever go back.
Well, how good is the democracy in Ukraine? Is it a democracy, and do they vote their leaders in?
So since they left, when they got their independence, what they had before was straight up, you know, hardcore communism. So now they've got more, you know, and more democracy. So I think that's a big difference, at least in the way, even if there's corruption and even if there's, you know, other, you know, it's not a full-fledged democracy. But I don't know their government over there, but I know it's not what it used to be. So you're not under, you know, communist rule. You're now under, you know, a democratic rule, which is in theory run by the people. So I guess that's a huge difference. That's like almost a black and white type difference, or 180-degree difference from what they were.
Somebody, hold on. I just saw. Did somebody say I thought somebody was in Ukraine. Said I don't feel that free. I think they're saying I don't feel that free here. Yeah, no, I don't either.
No kidding. But at least you were told to be a bread maker when you didn't want to make bread, right? And you wanted to have a dream of doing something else.
All right, Dex, let's get to our next caller. It looks like we have another first-time caller named David. Had a conversation with Jesus. Hello, David.
Hello.
David, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Hi, Adam.
So what is happening? So you had an experience, and this is David from Texas. How are you doing today?
Yes. Good. I don't know if there's a time delay, but anyways, I'll just start off. It was 1980. I was 9 years old, and I was in my mother's car with her 3 sisters in the front seat and like 4 of us cousins in the back seat. And it was an old Cadillac built like a tank. Back then there were bench seats. Nobody wore seat belts. Windows were down. It was 100 degrees. It was hot. It was August. And we came to a stop sign, or a stoplight, heading to a Chinese restaurant of all things. And my mother, I overheard her speaking to her 2 sisters in the front seat, saying that we have spirit guides that are always around us 24/7. And I was like, oh, I'm 9 years old. I didn't understand what that meant. So I jumped up on the front of that bench seat and I leaned over and I said, what are you talking about? And she goes, well, honey, they're like angels. They're always around us. They're always trying to help us. They're always there for us. And I'm like, I'm sitting there thinking, well, wait a minute. In my own mind, I'm thinking, so we have all these angels or spirit guides that are with us, and I'm trying to fathom how they could all fit inside this car with us. So my mind was blown at this point. I couldn't understand how they could fit in the car with us, right? So we get to the Chinese restaurant, and everyone's bailing out of the car. We're all hot. All right, everyone was hot, and as they're getting out, I said, "I'm not going in. I'm not going to go in." And they said, "No, we're in Bel Air, Houston. You have to come in. We're in a parking lot. You got to come in." No, and I fought with them for about anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes. It was a long time ago, but I can remember them starting to sweat under their armpits and nose balls of sweat dripping off their nose and makeup running. And so obviously, we'd been fighting for a while that I wasn't going to come in. And I said, "Look, there's a table right in front of the car, right there in the window. Y'all just sit right there. I'll just sit in this car." And they thought I was crazy. They literally thought that you're absolutely crazy. Fine, we're just going to go ahead and fine. We'll go into the restaurant. So they went into the restaurant, and as they did, I saw them sit down. The waiter sit them down, and I went to lay down in the back seat of that bench seat of that Cadillac, which back then they were really wide. And as I went to lay down, before I could get my head to the seat, it was like a thunder snap. Bam! I woke up. Or I not woke up. I just never went to sleep. I never even got to lay down in the back seat. I was all of a sudden in a canoe. And it was or not a canoe, but a rowboat, an old style rowboat that went up to a point in the front, and it had 3 piers in it. I was in the back. It was super misty. It was so misty I couldn't see, but I could taste the mist on my lips, and the mist was sweet to the taste, and I could hear the ripples of the water against the boat, and it sounded like music. It was beautiful. The noise was it was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. And as I'm taking this all in, like, wow, I was just in a car, and now all of a sudden I'm in the rowboat. How did this happen? And as that happened, I noticed that the mist was starting to disappear, and I could see a silhouette in front of me at the top of the pew, which is, the pews in those old rowboats went kind of stepped up a little bit, and I could see this silhouette, and it got clear, and I could see that it was Jesus. And I'm sitting here, I'm 9 years old. I'm looking at Jesus. I'm sitting there looking at him, and I said in my mind, I said, "Oh my gosh, this is Jesus, and he's my spirit guide." And I felt very humbled, special. I can't explain the feeling that I had, but I knew that I knew him before I came here to Earth. I knew that I've known him forever. And so as I'm staring at him, and just to let you know what he was wearing, he was wearing just a plain robe, grayish tan with tan belt. I couldn't see his feet. And he was beautiful. His eyes were beautiful. I mean, I can't explain how beautiful his eyes were. And I said, "Look, are you my spirit guide?" And he goes, "Yes, David, I am." And I said, "Well, I've got a lot of questions for you." And he goes, "I know. That's why you're here." And I said, "Okay. Well, my first question is, I'm really, 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 really worried about nuclear confrontation, and I'm trying to be, right with the words and the algorithms, and he said, David, and he looked at me and he took his fist and pounded it into his other hand softly and said 3 times. He hit his fists into his hand and he said, I don't want you to ever worry about that again. And to this day, I have never worried about it. Now, that being said, I don't know if that would happen or not. He just told me never to worry about it. All right.
Can I ask you a quick question? You said they left you in the back of the Cadillac. Did they leave the car on in the air conditioning or? No. This is the 80s. We didn't wear seatbelts. Oh no, and I remember too. My mom for I told you guys I was raised by my aunt and uncle, but my mom left me in my car seat, and I remember it. I for 2 days. She forgot me in the car for 2 days, and I remember screaming and yelling. So I know. I'm just wondering if you actually almost died because of the heat in the car, and you may have actually had a near-death experience. Like you may have been talking to Jesus, not because you were taking a nap, but because you were overheated.
No, actually, I felt no heat at all. I was quite comfortable. And when the process happened, when I went to, I wasn't overheated at all. I was acting like, I'm born and raised here in Texas. So, I played in the sun all day. The heat didn't bother me. And still to this day, it really doesn't. I'm a licensed plumber and I have to work out in attics and stuff, and it just doesn't bother me. But anyways, so I asked him that question. He told me not to worry about it. And it's a funny thing. And I've researched a lot of it. As I got older, started researching NDEs and how that all happens with people, that with the defibrillators bringing them back to life and all, and that they had crossed over and came back, and started listening to their stories. And I was like, okay, all right, this is interesting. So, but anyways, back to this story. So there was a long time frame that went by. I would say around 8 hours. And I knew him as if he was my best friend, and I'd known him forever at that age. I knew him before I came down to earth. I knew him before that. However, in that 8 hours felt like 4 minutes, and yet at the same time it felt like 8 hours. I cannot explain the time zone difference. I just can't explain it. It just felt like I was there for a very long time, and at the same time I was there for a few minutes. I don't know how to explain that. I don't think I ever can. So there was a lot that I had asked him, so many questions, and I was not allowed to remember those questions. I came to that conclusion later in life that I was not allowed to remember what we talked about.
Now, I do got to let you know we are almost out of time for the show. So
no.
I didn't want to interrupt you though, but we have about 40 seconds left, and then we're hitting up on that 2
All right,
mark.
so let me finish this up real quick. At the very end, he says, your mother's coming to the car. I said, look, hey, I've got one more question to ask. And he said, okay, ask it. We have plenty of time. Next thing I know, I said, I go, I'm not a very smart kid. I have dyslexia. I don't feel comfortable in school. He said, with a gesture of his hand, the next thing I knew, I was out in outer space. I could see the whole entire cosmos, everything, every star connected. I could feel everyone's emotions on Earth. I could see all of heaven, which I consider and vast universe is heaven. And I could see how everything was related at one time. And I understood it. It was so powerful, I thought my head was going to explode. And at the moment where I couldn't take in all that knowledge anymore, and I thought my brain was just going to pop, bam, my mother opens the door.
Well, I have my theory. Maybe that rush of cold air, or it was 200 degrees in that car and opened the door. Again, you may have saw Jesus you may have been asleep.
No.
You may have been dead.
I've actually had another episode here late in my late 50s where I actually met an actual angel.
Well, again,
and I'm not a big Bible guy. I'm really not. It happened.
Again, that's a crazy story, and I appreciate you calling in tonight. And this is why we like first-time callers. I really hope that I hope it's your first-time call. I hope it's not your last. I would love to hear about that second story.
Wait
again,
until
too. All right. Well, thank you so much,
I will
David.
call you back again, and I'll tell you about the angel story.
All right. Well, thank you, David. And you have a great night. Be safe. Be prepared.
God bless everyone. Thank you, Dex. Thank you, Adam. And God bless you. And I hope you get better. And we're praying for you.
All right. God bless you as well. I wanted to check up on the Prophecy Club. Looks like about 200 of you went over and said hi. Thank you for doing so. And then, Dex, how many minutes do we have left here? Looks like it
looks like we're down to the last couple minutes. So, real quick, I just want to tell everybody, head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, and look for that web-only content. Scroll down below. There's lots of information there. Again, another stacked set of content. Plenty to look at that we couldn't cover here. So, if you're on YouTube, open the description. It's the first link, says show notes, and then just scroll down. Look for web-only content.
All right, thank you. And then I want to say a big, big thank you for for Love of Country One. Thank you so much for your massive support tonight. You were the top YouTube supporter tonight. I want to thank Gone Girl 777, Paul Shaggy, M. Menching. I want to thank everybody that popped in. Kelly2334, I'm sorry that you had to go, and I hope that you get to watch the replay, especially on tonight's show. One Aunt B, of course, thank you, Gem, Lady Green Eyes, Dixie Doe, Karen from Columbus, MD Moses. I love Jesus forever. Thank you so much, everybody that has supported tonight. Big shout out. Make sure to go check out the channels for Melissa Schumann, the Melissa Schumann Show on DLive, and Brendan Henschel. Both of those really great people. Two of the best people over on DLive. And then, of course, you've got Chance Paladin, Jammer, and all of our friends over on DLive as well. If you ever want to watch a different way, you can always pop over to DLive. DLive as well never ends. It doesn't stop like YouTube does at 2 hours. If you do want to follow along, go over to Marfoogle Jams. We're going to do the shoutro where I say thank you. I basically say thank you to the people that matter most, you. Again, it's always been my way of saying thank you to everybody that shows up to the chat, and it's a silly, silly time. So thank you, guys. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. And I'm going to make some looper thank yous from scratch. Thank you. Have a good night.
Dixie Doe and the Kelly 234 came a sign and open up the door.
Thank you, Chewy Weather, Republic Patriot. Release the Quacken. Pitra, Gas Electric, MD Moses. Thank you for Love of Country 1. For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country 1, what have we done? For Love of Country